very much inspired by life, really, and the people around me. I'm Stephen DiRado. I'm a professor at Clark University. I'm in the studio art program. What we're talking about here is a project called With Dad. And With Dad came about in the infant state of me becoming aware that there was something wrong with my father, Stephen DiRado. And that was in his late 50s. My father was a graphic artist for the state of Massachusetts. So I was exposed very early in life to culture and arts. So I just fell in love with the camera. So what did I do? I started turning the camera around and photographing friends and family. I used a film analog box camera, a camera that fits on a tripod and takes individual sheets of film. It makes me really think about the narrative, the story. And I found it to be a great communicator. In times of trouble and times of love, they were used to the camera just being there, and I was never ever censored. It became part of my appendage, part of who I am. By the time my father was younger than me now, in his late 50s, something seemed distant about him. Dad, you don't seem engaged anymore. You're coming home from work and you're sitting there in front of the TV. What are you watching? Oh, I don't know. I'm not paying attention. And I became very alarmed by that. I said to him in his late 50s, hey, Dad, I'm going to make an appointment to come and photograph you. So I started doing that. I started going and photographing my father. I made this image of my father holding his dog, and he just seemed, I got it. I captured it. There's something disconnected. And I made a print of it, and I brought it back to my father a couple of days later. Dad, what do you see in this photo? And he's like, yeah, I seem maybe a little tired in the photo. I said, no, you seem a little detached, but that's okay. We'll keep making these. So over the next couple of years, I kept going back and photographing it in the house, in the backyard, maybe sitting by the TV. And finally, very sadly, he had a stroke. And with my big box camera, went right into the hospital. We're talking, and Dad, I'm going to make a picture of you here in the hospital room, and I'm going to unwrap a sandwich they gave you. All of a sudden, it came to me that I should be in the photo, and I should be in the background because I was unwrapping my own head around what was going on. So it became a metaphor. We talk about the fact that I work in a narrative with such a big camera that everything is accountable to be in the frame. No, my father didn't say something to the effect of, they say I might have this thing called Alzheimer's. I said to my father, oh no, you don't have Alzheimer's. Count to 10. And he, said 1, 2, 3, 5. I'm not gonna, this is stupid, count to 10. So that was it. There was no turning back. And this was a decisive moment. Is it art anymore? Or is it exploitation? And, should this be a private journey between me and my father? Or am I my father's son, his soldier as an artist? And I locked on to telling a story long before I knew it was becoming Alzheimer's. People, believe me, this is one of the biggest conversations about ethics. How could you do this to your father? And it's like, you know what? We did it together. He was enough in the presence. And I said, Dad, are you okay for this? Because, you're not the best of health. No, this is fine. You're my loving son and you're making art. And so sitting there with him watching TV one weekend, every 45 minutes he would get up and he'd go into the bathroom. And I'm thinking, Dad, you okay? This is like the third time in the last hour and a half. You're going into I don't hear the toilet flush, Dad. I don't hear the water run. You okay? Yep, I'm fine. I said, all right, well, you know me. I'm going in with you. Follow him into the bathroom with this friggin' huge camera. And he's just staring in the mirror. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is probably not good. He's probably just holding on to his image of who he is, who's Stephen DiRado. Dad, I'll photograph you looking in the mirror. Okay, fine. And I went 1, 2, and before I got to 3, he turned quickly to the camera and he smiled at the camera. And I said, Dad, no, you need to be looking back in the mirror. But the man in the mirror is looking at me. That was one of the saddest moments in my life. So I turn and I'm like, hey, Dad, what do we think about the man in the mirror? And he's over there. Oh, he's a good man. And I said, no, Dad, he's a great man. And I think the two of us should look at that great man in the mirror and let me make the photo. 1, 2, 3, and I make the photo. That's that one, stranger in the mirror. So we were kind of getting ready to get him in a home, but then he had a stroke. And then from the stroke, he went right into a home. Over a period of time, I became the artist in residence unofficially, right? They looked forward to me. I was seeing things, saying to the nurses, Dad's escalated in the disease. He's dying in the next couple of weeks. I was seeing my father more as form than human at that point. The last photo I made is my father in a fetal position. There's my wife and my sister, my brother, and my mother. I brought my mother into the picture by casting my sister's shadow. When my father's project died because of death, I really missed the nursing home. And it was quality time. The son and father relationship is uncensored. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to love him the way that I know how. But at the same time, I'm a professional. And when I put the camera over my shoulder, I became my father's son. And when I was in the building, I would feel the temperature in the place, the humidity, the smells, and the quality of light coming in the windows, the time of year, knowing that in fall, the sun's going to hit this window at a certain time. And the winter, it's going to come through this particular window. And I pre-visualize is a good word, of what things will look like as a narrative through that beast that you see there. So, and I will continue working on projects as long as I'm ticking.